Hall of Fame, but I am going to be running my interviews with Dennis DeYoung, Tommy Shaw, and Jay Wise probably done the show a dozen times, and every time he comes on, it's chunky. I mean, it's like when Nils Lofgren comes on, it's 45 minutes long. So,
Yeah.
and Nils is in the Rock and Roll. I'm trying to get Little Steven on this month because Little Steven's playing the Jam down in Anne Arundel County later on in the month as well. And Billy Joel's playing the arena, and I have an hour-long chat with Billy Joel from the Stormfront tour that you'll hear later on in the month. So, but Styx is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I'm running it anyway because Kurt Schilling's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I'm running my chats with him.
Right.
Roger Clemens is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I'm running my chats with him. Art Modell is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm not running my chats with him because I've run them too much, quite frankly. Have you heard my sit-downs with Art? Probably have, if you've listened to the station over the years at any point.
Yeah, once upon a time, sure.
I mean, I did that in 2005. I've run it once or twice a year during the holidays or when I'm off since 2014. But I'm not going to run a lot of the stuff that is modern era. I've used a lot of resources, and I've burned up 2 VCRs, 2 mini disc tape sets, and 1 cassette player. I burned up 2 VCRs. Bri, I don't have a VCR to get this stuff off. I have to find the new VCR that still functions. I got about 30 hours of stuff I still got to get off here. Brian Sanderoff here from Curio Wellness, our longtime sports friend, holistic pharmacist, and now in the cannabis and CBD space, as well as they have a spa there, they have holistic. But more than that, dude, you're in the educational space, right? Like, so as much as I'm using the next month to be educational about Hall of Famers, there's a lot of controversy going on about vape right now. And, I see attachments and links and fake news and who knows what's true at this point. That's kind of why I rely on you. I mean, you've been working on people's health since you were in like high school and becoming a pharmacist many, many moons ago. I want to hear what you have to say about the vape controversy, man.
Yeah, so the issue is this. I mean, there have been concerns about vape cartridges one way or another leaching lead or creating lead through the heating element into the vape oil that then you end up inhaling. And so I think most of those concerns come more from the tobacco, vaping world or the nicotine vaping world. And yet there have been some concerns with, I'll say, cheaper batteries or cheaper cartridges in the cannabis world as well. And so that controversy reared its ugly head a little bit in Maryland last week. The testing requirements have always been followed, as far as I know, within the state, and now they're tightening up those testing things. What we've been, and as far as I could tell you for sure that the cartridges that Curio uses, no problems, and have never been any issues with heavy metals like lead showing up in the the vape oil. That being said, what we've been trying to educate people about is that actually vaping the flower instead of the concentrated oil is an alternative way and maybe a safer, more effective way of using this medicine. The purest way that you can use cannabis as a medicine is to use the actual flower. That's the only way that you can get every single component of what nature is offering you with that. And so there are all of these different implements that you can use to actually vaporize the flower instead of the concentrated oil. And those implements can cost anywhere from $50 to $450 for the sort of like the Volcano tabletop unit. And so all sorts of options there. And my staff are really well schooled in this and can educate anybody. And so if somebody's used to vaping in oil, and a lot of people are there because it's convenient to do it that way, you can vape flower just as conveniently. It can become more effective, probably more cost effective as well, ultimately, and ultimately the safest way that you can inhale this medicine.
Brian Sanderoff is here. He's the guy I trust. He's a Curio Wellness longtime pharmacist into holistic. They have lots of holistic products there, especially if you've been suffering from allergies. I have a little hip issue that I'm working on with the hyaluronic acid that is out on the. Also, one more thing in your space, and I want to get back to sports and Hall of Fame and Sticks and all that stuff as well. I guess it would say edibles, chewables, ingestibles, digestibles. That was something like a year ago that was like sort of not offered in any way in Maryland. This has made its way not only from Colorado, Washington, California, whatever, but it is becoming. Being in places in Colorado, you see how varied the edibles can be, from cookies to anything you can eat, literally lollipops, all sorts of things. What is legal in Maryland on the medicinal side, and what are you seeing in the market? Because I feel like that's probably about to explode a little bit in this marketplace, right?
Yeah, there's no question about that, and probably by the end of the year, the commission will have made their regulations. So, quote-unquote edibles are approved now in Maryland, and now we just need to have sort of the food safety regulations added to it. So what's the difference between an edible and a consumable? Because right now we have medical chews and we have troches, we have capsules and tablets and elixirs, and those are all in essence edibles. I mean, they're medicine that you're going to absorb through the stomach. I will tell you that from a medical perspective, I know people maybe think of edibles as those brownies and those cookies. The truth is that it's a very, very powerful medicine, and those sorts of dosage forms are probably the most responsible for helping dozens of my patients get off of their opioids, because when it gets absorbed through the stomach, the effect can last 6, 8, 10 hours. And so it's a really great way to treat chronic pain, chronic anxiety, chronic sleep issues, chronic muscle contractions, so people with MS and Parkinson's. I mean, really an excellent dosage form. And I believe that by the end of the year, you're now in Maryland going to start to see cookies and brownies and things that, people think of more as edibles. But again, from that medical perspective, that medical cannabis perspective, very, very powerful medicine. And I'm really excited to see more options available as time goes on.
Brian Sanderoff, our guest and partner and sponsor and longtime friend from Curio Wellness. Learn more about what they do out there. And Wednesday nights are your nights, right? That you're doing a lot of your educational stuff, correct?
Yeah, usually Wednesday nights, although I think we're going to start to expand that a little bit and start to see about some Saturday afternoons to see if we can make classes available to, people that just can't do things in the evenings during the week.
Cool. You can learn more at CurioWellness.com. I want to get back into sports and Hall of Fame, maybe even a little bit of sticks. So, these bands and people that aren't in Hall of Fames, you and I are like two old guys that love rock and roll, love sports, love football. I've been to Cooperstown several times. I've been out to Canton many times, Cleveland in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We talk music and stuff like that. Does any of this matter once you, I'm like 50 now, and it doesn't matter to me whether Pete Rose or Roger Clemens or Kurt Schilling get into the Hall of Fame, or even Art Modell at this point. I think these things are so politically controlled and so sort of, and again, I might be a guy they'll ask to be the voter on the Football Hall of Fame. I'm certainly qualified, you know what I mean? Scott Garceau ever doesn't want to do it or just tires of it, they're going to ask someone else from Baltimore to be that guy. It might be me. I've had to think about it long and hard as to whether it's a responsibility I would want. And these guys take on all this grief, and I know all the voters on the football side. It really is sort of sticky and messy in a lot of ways, and I don't know that there's any fair way to do it or not do it. I know the rock and roll thing, everybody has railed about what a pay-for-play gig that is just pure capitalism, at its finest. That's what that thing is. Baseball and football, it's a little bit more of a nod in that you make a lot more money once you get in the Hall of Fame and start signing autographs, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that that's sort of the shame of it. But I think I'm thinking of the same thought that you are, what you're alluding to, and that is, as I get older, I have my memories. I know who my Hall of Fame players are, and whether they're actually in the Hall of Fame or not doesn't matter as much to me. Although I certainly have enjoyed, going up to watch Jo and Ray, and this year to watch Ed get inducted. That certainly brings back those memories and, helps me shed a tear or two from having watched those guys play. But yeah, Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And
it devalues the Hall of Fame more than it devalues Pete at this point.
I think so.
I'm literally, and look, with Bonds and Clemens and the cheaters and all that stuff, had Angelos not taken my press pass, I would have had a vote, right? I was in all those locker rooms. I flew around. I worked. It's what I do for a living, even though it has been greatly diminished by the acts of Peter Angelos. I would have had a ballot, and my ballot would have had Schilling and Messina on it before it would have had Clemens and Bonds, because I thought they were clean, and I was around it all. And that is part of this, is you have to play cop and decide who was clean and who was dirty. Pudge Rodriguez never would have gotten into my Hall of Fame if I'm keeping steroid guys out, That simple. Right. If you're of that mindset, then Mike Piazza doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame.
Do you? Yeah, I agree with you. But, do you think Ty Cobb didn't cheat, didn't do everything he possibly could to get an advantage? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, we're going to have Hall of Fame month, and hopefully the conversations make some sense. Brian Sanderoff here from Curio Wellness at CurioWellness.com. It has been a lot of fun, dude, unearthing all of this. I mean, I keep showing all the cassette tapes around me. And did you ever have a mini disc player? Did you ever use mini disc as a format or no?
Yeah. When I
Good luck with
my
that.
Radio show, I used to, when I was doing my show, I used to record it on cassette tape, and as soon as I got out of the studio in the car, I'd put that tape in and listen to it, to learn how many times I said, and things like that.
Brian Sanderoff here from Curio Wellness. Check him out. Check us out all month long with our Hall of Fame month, and you can check them out online as well as stop in, make an appointment. And if you are curious, Curio is there to help educate you and give you top of the line, not just advice, but documentation on everything you do. Appreciate all you guys do out there, Brian. We'll see you soon, okay?
Yep. Take care, Nestor.
Wednesdays for the educational series, you can click on the educational toolbar at CurioWellness.com. You can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net. We're going to be out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn all month long. All of our Hall of Fame stuff, I am stacking them deep and lining them up. It's going to start with my Hall of Fame, my personal Hall of Fame, my favorite interviews. Some John Stedman in there, Mary Lou Retton. Sort of off the beaten path stuff with Hall of Famers. And then we go to baseball, and then rock and roll, and then football Hall of Famers to honor Mike Messina and Ed Reed. This will be the last year we have 2 Hall of Famers going in locally anytime soon. And I'm 50, and I'm not holding my breath for the next round of Hall of Famers around here. So, God bless them all. Let's get Ed Reed in there. Let's get Moose in there. Moose throwing out first pitch this week. Is that right? I think so. So we'll try to track down Mike Messina as well and grab him. I know Cal Ripken's going to freshen up a conversation later on in the month. So we will have some fresh content around here, but all of it will be with Hall of Famers. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.